Hello, friends. Yakov here again. I've talked about tulpas before, mostly as imaginary animal cartoon GFs, and I'm sure we'll get back to that soon enough. But right now, I want to take it a little more seriously, perhaps, and I want to talk about tulpas as part of traditional Tibetan Buddhism. The tulpa is a concept in mysticism and the paranormal of a being or object which is created through spiritual or mental powers. It was adapted by the 20th century theosophists from Tibetan sprulpa, which means emanation or manifestation. Modern practitioners use the term to refer to a type of willed imaginary friend, which practitioners consider to be sentient and relatively autonomous. Emanation body, Indian Buddhism. One early Buddhist text, and here's the part where I totally do a complete injustice to all of these sacred words from these religions from faraway places that people take very seriously. Let's try to do this. Sama Nafala Sutta. That actually felt pretty good. Sama Nafala Sutta lists the ability to create a mind-made body. I'm not even going to try that one. As one of the fruits of the contemplative life. Commentarial texts such as the Patisambhi Dhammaga and the Visu Dhimmaga state that the mind-made body is how Gautama Buddha and the Arhats are able to travel into heavenly realms using the continuum of the mind stream, Sita Santana, and it is also used to explain the multiplication miracle of the Buddha as illustrated in the Divya Vedana, which the Buddha multiplied his emanation body, Nirmita, into countless other bodies which filled the sky. A Buddha or other realized being is able to project many such nirmitas simultaneously in an infinite variety of forms in different realms simultaneously. And that story, on a side note here, uh, is one issue I take with many people who are just like hipster losers or hippies at the music festival on too much acid. They like their Buddhism, but they hate the idea of religion. When Buddhism is full of totally supernatural events, demons, demigods, all these things that these people like to think they're above, but they just don't know. They don't know what they're talking about. The Indian Buddhist philosopher Vasubandhu, from the 4th to 5th century CE, defined nirmita as a siddhi or psychic power developed through Buddhist discipline, concentrated discipline, and wisdom in his seminal work on Buddhist philosophy, the Abhidharmakosa. Asanga's Bodhisattva Bhumi defines nirmana as a magical illusion and basically something without a material basis. The Madhyamaka school of philosophy sees all reality as empty of essence. All reality is seen as a form of nirmita or magical illusion. So now I guess that's saying that like the tulpa is your imaginary friend mind form. Since all of the material world is just illusory anyway, as you are a manifestation of the supreme, then what they call Maya, which is the all of the material world, is also just a manifestation of your thoughts. It's like looking into a mirror. Tibetan Buddhism, emanation bodies, Nirmanakaya, Sprulsku, Sprulpa, and so on are connected to the Trikaya, the Buddhist doctrine of the three bodies of the Buddha. They are usually emanation bodies of celestial beings, though unrealized beings, such as humans, may have their own emanation bodies, or even be emanation bodies. For example, the 14th Dalai Lama is considered by some followers to be an emanation reincarnation, or tulku, of Chenrezig, the Bodhisattva of compassion. The 14th Dalai Lama mentioned in a public statement that his successor might appear via emanation while the current Dalai Lama is still alive. Tulpa. 20th century theosophists adapted the concepts of emanation body, nirmita, tulku, sprulpa, and others into the concepts of tulpa and thought form. The term thought form is used as early as 1927 in Evans Wentz' translation of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. John Meardhin Reynolds, in a note to his English translation of the life story of Garab Dorje, defines a tulpa as an emanation or a manifestation. Alexandre David Neil, Belgian-French explorer, spiritualist, and Buddhist Alexandra David Neil claimed to have observed these mystical practices in 20th century Tibet. She reported tulpas are magic formations generated by a powerful concentration of thought, which is really what all magic is, I would say. David Neal wrote that an accomplished bodhisattva is capable of effecting 10 kinds of magic creations. The power of producing magic formations, tulkus, or less lasting and materialized tulpas, does not, however, belong exclusively to such mystic exalted beings. Any human, divine, or demoniac being may be possessed of it. The only difference comes from the degree of power, and this depends on the strength of the concentration and the quality of the mind itself. David Neal wrote of the tulpa's ability to develop a mind of its own. Once the tulpa is endowed with enough vitality to be capable of playing the part of a real being, it tends to free itself from its maker's control. This, say Tibetan occultists, happens nearly mechanically, just as the child, when his body is completed and able to live apart, leaves its mother's womb. David Neal claimed to have created a tulpa in the image of a jolly Friar Tuck-like monk, which later developed a life of its own and had to be destroyed. Had to be Minecrafted, I guess. David Neal raised the possibility that her experience was illusory. I may have created my own hallucination, though she reports that others could see the thought forms that have been created. See, I was under the impression that they were all just supposed to be hallucinations. The Friar Tuck-like monk. She had to destroy it. That's sad. I always thought if I had a tulpa, it'd be like a little Bigfoot, a little furry guy. Don't take that the wrong way. I wasn't gonna make it for weird stuff. I was just gonna hang out with them. It was gonna be fun. Thought form. The Western occult understanding of the concept of thought form is believed by some to have originated as an interpretation of the Tibetan concept of tulpa. The concept is related to the Western philosophy and practice of magic. Occultist William Walker Atkinson, in his book The Human Aura, described thought forms as simple ethereal objects emanating from the auras surrounding people, generating from their thoughts and feelings. He further elaborated in clairvoyance and occult powers how experienced practitioners of the occult can produce thought forms from their auras that serve as astral projections which may or may not look like the person who is projecting them, or as illusions that can be seen by those with awakened astral senses. The theosophist Annie Besant, in her book Thought Forms, divides them into three classes: forms in the shape of the person who creates them, forms that resemble objects or people and may become ensouled by nature spirits or by the dead, and forms that represent inherent qualities from the astral or mental planes, such as emotions. Tulpas in modern Western society. The concept of tulpa was popularized and secularized in the Western world through fiction, gaining popularity on television in the late 1990s and 2000s. In 2009, anonymous posters on the discussion board 4chan started experimenting with creating tulpas, and the community gained popularity through the emergence of the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic fandom. This is how the West dies. The fans attempted to use meditation and lucid dreaming techniques to create imaginary friends. So forever alone. Ah, poor boys. Surveys by Vesi- Vasieri explored this community's demographic, social, and psychological profiles. These individuals, calling themselves tulpamancers, treat the tulpas as a real or somewhat real person. The number of active participants in these online communities is in the low hundreds, and few meetings in person have taken place because I'm pretty sure these people are fucking walled up in their basements. They got those doors boarded up. They belong to primarily urban, middle class, Euro American, adolescent, and young adult demographics, and they cite loneliness and social anxiety as an incentive to pick up the practice. So, like I said, this is how the West dies. Not with a bang, but with a neigh and a clop. 93.7% of respondents expressed that their involvement with the creation of tulpas has made their condition better. Oh, I'm sure. And led to new unusual sensory experiences. Like, oh my god, because you know it's a bunch of fucking virgins. And like, when they say new unusual sensory experiences, what is that, like a wet dream? Is that what that is? I think it might be. Some practitioners have sexual and romantic interactions with their tulpas, though the practice is controversial and trending towards taboo. And like we're talking about a bunch of dudes on 4chan who really liked My Little Pony. Yeah, nothing's controversial and taboo anymore. One survey found that 8.5% support a metaphysical explanation of tulpas. 76.5% support a neurological or psychological explanation, and 14% other explanations. So, that's how what what began as a legitimate traditional Buddhist doctrine, and a lot of people say it was used in order to fight off loneliness and what would otherwise be traumatic scenarios where you find yourself out in the wilderness all by yourself, just meditating, and that they would use these companions not to go crazy. Well, now you go crazy first, and then you start imagining horse GFs, I guess. So every time I read these, I feel a little stupider, realizing that like I consider myself a fucking sorcerer, a wizard, a master of many occult arts. The problem is a lot of these fucking words that I'm reading, I've never said out loud, and I've never heard anyone fucking say out loud. So I just stumble through it like a goddamn moron. I gotta work on that. So yeah, I love you all. I'm proud of you. Give me your shekels or don't. Really, I'm just glad you're listening. Have a great day.